All right. So in this trip, I brought my 2014 Honda CTX1300. Did not have ABS, did not have traction control, and I was pretty impressed by the bike. Shaft drive, V4 fuel injected, and I didn't get the gas mileage that you got, and I didn't have the power that you had, but I feel like it kind of sat in the middle. So what'd you bring?
I brought Dad's Honda NCX700. I think it's an NCX700. It's an automatic bike, which is my first time riding an automatic bike, which is honestly pretty cool, but you don't have the power that you need if you need to pass somebody. You can drop it down into a lower gear and quickly pass. I would have to just open the throttle wide open just to try to get some power and speed, but it was a great bike.
Do you feel like it knew when you wanted to downshift, or did you have to just give it gas and force it to downshift?
On the highway, I kept it in drive.
Yeah.
But when we were getting to like the cities and places where we had to slow down, I would drop it into sport.
Yeah.
Because I would go 20 miles an hour and be in fourth gear already.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this thing changes gears too fast. It needs to allow the gears to wind out, get the RPMs up before it switches the gear.
What about you, Chuck?
Chuck McKinley, and I'm riding a 2016 Goldwing 1800cc and pulling a trailer for equipment.
Which we love.
It came in handy. Luckily, we never needed the 10 gallons of gas that we had for spare.
Right. One time we thought we might, but...
Where was that? That was like, was that in Colorado when we almost ran out of gas? I think it was backcountry of Colorado.
Well, one of the better things about the bike is the comfort. I have to admit that. The power's nice, the shaft drive, everything about it's smooth, agile.
Right on. So then what would you say, Chuck, has been your favorite part of the trip?
I'd say the rides through the hills. Just seeing the beauty and everything, but at the same time, even some of the prairie land and stuff with the buttes and hills to the sides, just the view overall.
Yeah. Do you have a least favorite part that sticks out?
Rain through Dallas.
Right.
How about that one?
We got wet. What about you, Mike?
What, my favorite part of the trip? If I had to pick, it would have to be northwest Wyoming. Seeing the Tetons. There was this one part, right, when we're on, I can't remember what highway, but we're on the highway going toward the Grand Teton National Park, and the Tetons were to your left.
Yeah.
And they were just miles and miles and miles of just valley, and then all of a sudden sheer rock granite walls.
Yeah.
And they must have been a mile or so to your left, but it seems like it was right there. So that was my favorite. I mean, I've always wanted to see that. Jackson Hole, Wyoming is a highlight of the trip for me. Surprisingly, Idaho turned out to be far prettier than I ever thought it would be. Just the fields of gold that we saw nothing but wheat fields. Yeah. That was really pretty. It was just up there, it's just, I'm trying to think how to explain it. It might as well have been Mars for me, because it was unlike anything I've ever seen before. I didn't even know places like that exist, really.
Yeah. Wipes out the intuition of nothing but potatoes in Idaho.
Yeah, right? And seeing some of the wildlife on the road, the driving past a buffalo.
Yeah, right?
Look, that buffalo was just, it looked like he was just walking to work or something, like, walking down the road. It's like, all right, guys, I'm just walking to work. Don't mind me.
All right, what about least favorite?
Well, I guess it's a toss-up between riding through the Badlands with a 40-mile-an-hour crosswind.
Yeah.
I could barely go 70 miles an hour because it was such a crosswind. That was pretty crazy. I hope I never have to do that again. And then riding through that, whatever that storm was, that.
Oh yeah.
Was it derecho?
Yeah, the derecho. Was it Missouri? Was that Missouri that we?
North of Springfield, Missouri.
And it was something that I had never experienced before, with a storm that strong and it just being like a front. not being a hurricane, not being a tornado, it's just being a front of
Yes,
rain.
Least favorite moment
Yeah.
was a motorcycle sitting in the middle of the interstate stopped.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I've been trying to forget about it, but
Yeah.
that was really the worst moment.
So what happened? You came up over the hill.
Came up over the hill, motorcyclist was in the emergency lane, pulled off and stopped to the right, suddenly decided to take off, go to the left lane of the interstate, and then stop
Yeah, right.
Come to a dead stop.
In the middle of the interstate.
in the middle of the interstate.
In South Dakota with a speed limit of 80.
80.
Looking like she was going to go back to the emergency lane where her partner was, I'm assuming her boyfriend or whatever. So I go to the left to not go between them. And then just as she stops and I notice what's going on, I also realize that there is a turnaround spot on the left side. And I just start praying that she's not going to turn left.
Yeah.
But she remained stopped, and I barely squeezed by her on the left side.
Yeah. I can remember coming up over the hill, and the first thing I noticed was the smell of rubber,
Yep.
which was from you hitting your brakes.
I slid it.
And then I noticed she's sitting there with her steering wheel, with her handlebars turned, and you're
Like she was-
trailing
like she was
her,
gonna
like she was
turn.
going to turn left with you going around her. And then when I get up on her, I'm honking the horn, and she's like, "Pass on my right."
Yeah, who passed it on the
Stopped
right?
on the left-hand lane of the interstate, like we're the idiots.
Yeah, I had the tail end at that point, so I was bringing up the rear, and I remember looking at it, I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And when she started yelling at us, I thought she was yelling because Chuck did something, and I'm thinking, well, what did Chuck do? Like,
Yeah.
we're just riding. And, you know, by the time we're passing her, we're doing like, I don't know, I'm doing like maybe 30.
Yeah.
I dropped it down to 30, and I'm like trying to figure out what is going on. And then as I pass her, I hear her cursing us out.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't do anything, you know? I'm like, hold up.
My favorite part was, I think I'd probably have to agree with you, Mike. It was kind of that northeast section. There was some northwest. There were some views and vistas in Yellowstone that were just, I mean, it was like, you know, it was what, you know, they take pictures of and put them up in hotels.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
screensavers on computers. Yeah, we saw it, you know.
it's stuff that's like, I didn't even know this existed. And then I remember when we came rolling into Wyoming, we were on the far east of Wyoming, coming from South Dakota. And I remember kind of coming down a hill between two other bigger hills, and it just being like, looking like the moon, you know. And that first time we stopped for gas, I was like, this is like another country, because the way that the industry is set up, the way the houses are built, the way that the land is developed and spaced out. I mean, it looked like we were in a whole other country.
Yeah.
It's something that,
Yeah.
you know, you just never see until you come out here. All right, so let's talk about favorite parts of the bikes. Mike, what was your favorite part of that Honda?
The throttle lock.
All right, and what about your least favorite?
The seat. The seat, hands down.
Yeah.
And the size of the gas tank. I wish they would have had a bigger gas tank. Maybe I would have at least a 4-gallon gas tank.
I would say my favorite part of my bike would probably be all the luggage space that I have with the 2 panniers in the top box. And my least favorite part for the bike is that shaft drive. The fuel map that's in it with the shaft drive just makes it really twitchy. What about you, Chuck? Favorite and least favorite?
I guess one of the favorite things is the full cruise control.
Yeah.
Lock it down and it holds the speed, no speeding up, slowing down. And really, least favorite?
Yeah, you gotta think hard on that one,
I'm
right?
thinking hard because I can't think of anything other than
With the color?
overall, I can't really think of any one thing that's bad with it other than the fact that the rear tire does pick up nails, which is not the fault of the bike or the tire.
What was your favorite bit of tech or equipment or something that you brought?
I think the Sienna headset was the nice addition, and being able to use the app to control it.
Yeah.
Turn the mics on and off and
Yeah,
different
the
things
Sienna
like that.
30K. Is there something else you wish you would have brought now that the trip is basically over?
My wife.
Right on. That's awesome.
That's about the only thing I can come up with. She would have loved the trip. She travels with me normally, and I'm gonna have to come back and bring her along on the back seat.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Well, we know how Mike has to answer now.
Yeah, thanks for raising the bar, Chuck.
All right, so then what was your favorite part of tech or equipment or Mike?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
The Sienna. But due to what the stuff we brought, if I can bring things different for next trip, I would get a better helmet that I could really utilize the Sienna with. I would have a mount for my phone, so that I can actually have my phone on the bike instead of trying to fumble, digging, and risk dropping it on the road, going 80 down the highway or whatever.
Yeah.
And then man gloves. Some man gloves
Yeah.
for the cold weather, man, because that was...
Favorite bit of tech or equipment? The Sienna headsets did work really well, being able to listen to music. I know on my bike, because I don't have a throttle lock and I don't have cruise control, I have one of those little $10 cramp busters that you just kind of Velcro on, and it lets me open up my palm and throttle with my wrist. And by now, about 10 days into the trip, I'm just now starting to get some serious fatigue in my throttle hand, but it's manageable. I think without that, it would have been basically unmanageable. It would have been incredibly uncomfortable. So I think that throttle cramp buster has worked really well. The seat pad, I was pretty happy with. That little spoiler that I got off Amazon, I was pretty happy with. All of those little things all worked pretty well. And I'm really impressed with my boots. I've really enjoyed those boots that I got, those Icon boots. It's my first pair of that type of riding shoe, and they have done really, really well. I'm glad we also had that tire patch kit that you brought.
Yep.
That
Thank
straight
you.
up saved us, and that air compressor.
Yeah, the air compressor that Chuck brought
We used that air compressor.
had its weight worth
all
in
the
gold,
time.
man.
Yeah. We brought a whole bunch of those jump boxes, but, you know, we didn't really ever need them. They weren't quite as essential as I was maybe thinking they would be.
Well, luckily we never had a dead battery, so.
Yeah, if everybody's got good batteries, those jump boxes are basically just a little safety blanket. Let's talk about how long is too long of a day. So our longest day was yesterday. It was 14 hours by the time we left to the time we got to our next stop. Now granted, we made a detour to get you a set of tires and hung out at, was it Broadway
Motorsports.
Broadway Motorsports in
Yeah.
Tyler, Texas, and those guys were incredible. Stepped up
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
saved us. Now, was yesterday too long of a day? Was 650 miles too long?
I wouldn't say it was too long. I don't know that I would do it every day, because spending that much time riding, getting to another destination doesn't leave you a lot of time to really enjoy the sights along the way.
Yeah.
I would say, just for the sake of the question, a 14-hour day on a bike is a long day.
Yeah.
That's a long day. And when we finally got here to our destination, I was like, thank you, Jesus. I'm going to bed.
Yeah. 14 hours was a long one. And I mean, we stopped, we ate supper, you know, we spent some time doing other things, but it still was like, is this day ever going to end?
Yeah.
The 200-mile days were incredibly relaxing, and that was nice to be able to have that slow down of a pace. But if you did 200 miles every day, you wouldn't get anywhere. One of the things that I enjoyed about this trip that we somewhat changed was the addition of all the stays at the Airbnbs. I'm glad that we did that, because we every night were able to get a shower, plug our phones in. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. It was an amazing trip. I'm glad we did it.
What about you, Chuck?
The beauty of America. It refreshes the intuition that I want to get out and explore more and see more of the U.S.
All right. That's all I got.
All right.
Thank you, sir.